A very, very good morning to you watching West Nile Television. It's a great pleasure starting off your day watching us here each and every Mondays to Fridays. And my name is Farish Majid, and this is where we are going to be giving you insights to some of the stories that may be transpiring in your know or maybe in your absence. So absolutely, it is very, very much important for you to always be part of this show, the Kokoliriko Live, that comes every Mondays to Fridays, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And on the same show as well, we also do bring guests to sometimes come and explain to you, the viewer, and you can as well interact and let us know maybe where you are catching the show from and maybe what you think about what we discuss here. And definitely that is why it is always very, very much important for you to share your feedback via the feedback generating platforms, and this depends on where you are watching us from. For those of you watching us on social media and online, you can drop your comments there, because I do understand some of you watch us overseas. Some of you are watching us overseas, for instance in the Middle East, in Europe, and outside West Nile as well, and the other parts of the country. So I think I want to thank you so much for always watching West Nile Television, the Kokoliriko Live show, and also sharing your comments with us. We really do very much appreciate them, and you can still let them come through, and we shall be able to also really share with the rest of the viewers. Today is the 24th of January. I must tell you, really the days are running so fast. It's really running so fast. It's a Wednesday, and that means that really we are left with about only 6 days, that is to close the month, and that should be an indication to you really how are you progressing, and maybe in terms of laying plans and strategies for the year, because January is where you must actually draw your plans. If you are to achieve something within the course of the year, then the month is actually January, and you should not always wait to start off with your things, because really if you have to look at the investors, if you interact with them, one advice they will always give you is do not sit down. Start now, because the time is not there, because you cannot wait for future, and the future actually starts now. And if you are ready to do something, then it is high time you actually begin from that time, and that is where we actually begin off with the show, and that is when also we shall be able to continue with you up the hour of that's 9 a.m. and remember, at 9 o'clock we shall be paving way for the Liberty News team led by Fete Emmanuel, as they will be also giving you what is happening in the world of Eolas. And that is why it is very, very much important for you to also really watch, that is the news bulletin in Liberty, and really to begin off with the morning updates. So many things have been happening over the week. I really must tell you, so many things. We're still mourning the death of one of our prominent, that is woman member of parliament from this country, and that is Honorable the late Cecilia Ogwal Atim, and we are still mourning with the people of Langos sub-region. And this is where actually I'll be giving you insights and maybe of some of the things that may be transpiring that side. But to begin off from really West Nile, and St. Luke Hospital receives a new ambulance from Italian Episcopal Conference. That is one of the stories that is actually trending on in the region. But the question is, how safe is the ambulance going to be? You know what really happened to our ambulance within Arua City that disappeared and only found its way, that is into DRC, according to information that really circulated. But up now we are still waiting to receive our ambulance. We still don't know what happened. People were arrested here and there, and really we are still also following up on that case of the ambulance, because really ambulance is one thing that really improves on service delivery, because they are used for referrals and maybe also bringing emergency cases and then referring also the emergency cases from one hospital to another. And that is why we need such vehicles to always be in shape, and most of them actually must be efficient, because once these vehicles are not efficient, then they will be able to also put the lives of the patients and then the rest of the people in the vehicle at risk. So I think it is very, very much important, and really must that is appreciate the Italian Episcopal for that donation of the ambulance, because it is going to boost, that is, service delivery. And now expected mothers, but the other communities surrounding St. Luke Hospital joined yesterday the rest of other members to welcome the donation of an ambulance from Italian Episcopal Conference. And let's really look at the excitement that was really mad with the receiver of the ambulance, and maybe what happened there, that will be able to also paint for you an image of what exactly the joy I'm talking about, the excitement among the community members that came with the receiver of the ambulance, because really we must appreciate people for the good work job done, and that is where we also have to pray for them to have more blessings from God, because really for somebody to come up and help you, then definitely you must appreciate them. But let's first look at what really transpired there in terms of the joy and the excitement, and we shall be able to bounce back with more on the story.
Many residents, especially the women in Angal Hospital, have joined the rest of their colleagues to express excitement over the donation of ambulance, saying it has come timely since transport of referral cases have been their biggest challenge, particularly during labor. The ambulance registration number UBP 623Z was donated by the Italian Episcopal Conference through the Bishop of Nebi Catholic Diocese, Right Reverend Raphael Pumonyo Kurash. Jessica Awashango Obote, resident of Angal Trading Center in Angal Nyaravutan Council, Nebi District, commended the Italian Episcopal Conference for the donation, saying she nearly lost her grandchild at birth due to lack of transport. She says she is very happy for the ambulance because many women will benefit very much from this ambulance.
Mutimo sama de mo wini ni ajika mabiole mutugia ande sama wini besita marusi mo ko betugia ngani anyonga nego wa ko weko ni kwai wa tikin matek mu betimo ku doctor mwai bir ku bisho gibe kono wa moko yango wa kitanda kenda ne kindalo gin magi timo kadin mu giza mo be lego wako wini le mo lego kiro pinjini kadi masini shol ni yesu berushi amkendi
It is the excitement, and you can really see and hear the women with lots of joy because they are actually going to be the most beneficiaries to this ambulance if it is put in right shape. And really we do expect also people who have been charged with the mantle of ensuring that the ambulance is safe, keep it very well, and they must ensure that it is protected from thieves, and then also protect the same ambulance that is from mechanical breakdowns. And we must ensure that this ambulance is very safe because really it has come timely, and it is also going to really help improve on service delivery because really women have been so much vulnerable when it comes to cases of ambulance and vehicles, because for somebody to be referred, really sometimes you see them go through a lot because they actually cannot afford other means, and an ambulance could actually be really the cheapest means. And if you have been able to move to some of the hospitals, you can really know what I'm talking about, the pain to get an ambulance to be transported from one hospital to another, and then definitely you will be able to know what exactly and why this must be that joyful about the receiver of the ambulance, because definitely it is going to really help them if it is put in proper use. And we also do expect that is the people charged with the responsibility of ensuring and using the ambulance to use it in the rightful way. We do not expect the ambulance to be used for ferrying smuggled goods, because really if you have to really reflect back, we did have a scenario last year when one of the ambulances from one of the districts within West Nile was actually impounded, that is that along Kampala Road, with the smuggled cigarettes suspected to be taken to Kampala. So I think that is something also we must condemn in the strongest terms. We only expect this ambulance to be put into proper use because definitely it has come to help the people of the region, and that is why it has been donated. And this is a donation from the Italian community, and we must really also raise our hands to appreciate them because definitely they are doing a great job and they are also helping. And we also embrace the other communities who are here. We do not only have that is the Italian community, we have so many communities living here. They can embrace and do the same thing, and this is actually to the rest of the people who are here. You can emulate what your friends are doing and really also help the citizens, and with that really they will be able to live with you harmoniously, and they will be able to also love you because they have seen what you're doing. But once we get people who do not actually share with the rest of the world, then definitely it becomes very, very much difficult to interrelate. So I think it is very, very much important for the people who have actually donated this ambulance to be applauded, and it is very much great for the people who have actually received that ambulance to also really ensure it is kept very, very safe. And it is everybody's mandate to actually ensure the safety of that ambulance, because once it disappears, it leaves everybody in suffering. So I think it is very, very good for everybody who is actually behind the receiver of that ambulance to actually receive and protect it jealously. So I think it is everybody's property. It is a property that is going to help the community, and really with that. But still within that sub-region, Nebi farmers challenge leaders on transparency in cotton prices. That is one of the stories that I feel I cannot really leave out, because really if you look at the cash crops over the country, people are really complaining about prices. Recently we did see tea growers in Western Uganda complaining about the tea prices. I don't know what is wrong with cotton, the cash crops, And really, I must tell you, they are really facing a lot of challenges here and there when it comes to issues of prices. But we still see the demand remaining constant. That is something really we need to have economists to really very much come very soon to come and explain to us why people are going through all this. Because if you look at one of the tea companies, which name I cannot mention here for some reasons, maybe, actually is facing challenges. The workers are threatening to lay down their tools. They are attempting to strike. And this is actually due to the prices, maybe in the results of the price in terms of the coffee. This is cotton, and now we are seeing that is cotton prices going down. Really, if you look at this cotton, the demand has remained constant. People love putting on cotton, and cotton actually is used in making several things. And now farmers in Parombo sub-county, that is in Nebi district, have challenged their leaders to consider being transparent to save, that is, farmers from losses they have incurred due to lack of transparency in prices of cotton this year. Really, if you look at these cash crops, it's not only cotton, as I told you earlier on. We're also seeing tea growers complaining about the same, and the same actually complaining, and for these ones, they may be complaining about prices. But I must tell you, those planting tea are complaining of prices and their money is actually not being paid for so many months, and that is why people may be able to also be pulled off from engaging in this plantation. So I think it is very, very good for people to also really engage in planting of these crops. And one thing that can keep them continue with production is actually motivating them. And one motivation factor is actually price and ensuring timely pay, because these people who are engaging in these things do not just engage in plantations because they want it. They actually want monies to sustain themselves, and they are looking for monies for survival and also ensuring that their families are kept very safe. But then once we have scenarios where they're not paid, and once you have scenarios where they do not actually receive their money timely, and then that becomes definitely a challenge to them, because it will also pull them off. And remember, we are talking about socio-economic transformation, and socio-economic transformation with these prices, and then definitely it may not be a reality, because it is going to put off so many people who would actually want to engage in agriculture. Because remember, agriculture is really our greatest backbone. The country's economy very much relies on agriculture and very much depends on it, because we have ready market and we have fertile soils. We have the weather that can actually favor the growth of crops. But really, once people are engaged into crops, into crop production, and then their monies are not paid, and then there is delayment in the payments of their monies, really, it becomes very, very much difficult. Because really, if you look at even the tobacco growers in West Nile sub-region who are duped, up to now, I must tell you that these people are still demanding for their monies. After a company came in and really duped them, and they are still demanding for their monies. And the information we are getting, these people actually borrowed a lot of monies to ensure that they get engaged into production of this crop growing. And up to now, their monies are not actually being paid. And some of them took loans. And I believe, just like the tobacco growers, these cotton growers, some of them may have taken loans to ensure that they actually get the capital and to engage in the production, so that actually becomes a challenge. It really becomes very, very difficult for people to continue with the crop production and continue growing their food crops. Then that will also really pull them off, and with that, it will also be a great challenge, and definitely that will also not go well. So I think it is high time if government can actually intervene on this and find solutions and find out what is really happening, and then that would actually also improve on people engaging in farming, because really we are looking at a population that may not actually depend on the formal sector very much, but rather they would actually be involved into this informal sector through agriculture, and that would actually really bring for them a lot of money, because we know how much money is in agriculture really, and I must tell you there's a lot of money. And if that really is the situation, then definitely this is going to pull off so many people from engaging production. It is going to affect so many people also from continuing, and that was with their production. So I think the farmers raised the issues. This was on 23rd of January, after sections of them promised to abandon cotton farming due to its unstable prices in the country. And remember, these things really, once these people are coming to call upon you, sometimes also this goes back to these people come and call these people to actually get engaged in these productions. They come up with the good ideas, they convince these people and tell them really they actually can get monies from this, and there's a lot of money they could actually get from production of these things here. But then once these people start producing this in bulk, we see prices changing. What is happening? That is something that we do not know. And then maybe also we need an economist very soon to come and explain to us why these challenges keep on happening that way. And with that, really, that is going to pull off so many people from engaging in production. That is going to affect farmers, because really farmers, if they do not get engaged into production, then definitely it is going to really become very, very difficult. And Mr. James Oyegi, the coordinator for Rombo Sub-County Farmers Association, say the farmers have not benefited as they have expected to benefit from the cotton prices, because they have really kept on changing in the region. And according to him, farmers were subjected to miscalculations due to lack of transparency from companies buying cotton in the district. And definitely that is one of the greatest challenges I did talk to you about. Once these companies are coming to convince these farmers to plant, this is not only with cotton, even it traces way back into the cotton cash crops. Because for cash crops, really, it's not going to be like food crops, and that is why sometimes also I want to call upon the farmers to actually engage into production of food crops, because food crops, the demand will be there. I must tell you, the demand will be constant because the population is increasing. People have to eat each and every day. They have to eat, and that is why sometimes also we need to desist from plantations of these cash crops, and that would actually also be as a lesson to these companies that are really duping and really faking these farmers with prices, coming up with such cute, good ideas and telling them we are actually going to really help you out. We are going to you're going to benefit from us in this way, and that is something that actually does not happen in most cases. But I must tell you that definitely is going to pull off so many people. And Nicholas Ochandi, one of the cotton growers in Nebi district, said the issue of standards and quality should not be undermined as cotton farmers demand for consideration for bulk buyers and middlemen. He cited an example of importance of post-harvest handling of grain as key to ensuring marketable produce. And remember, really, market is one thing. Market is really a greatest challenge. Production is another. Then ensuring that we have market for the crops is also another one. So Ochand expressed his dismay to the cotton buyers who have lowered their prices. Really, I must tell you, these things are sometimes they buy them very cheaply, and then the finished products, if you look at them, really, they do not match, that is the considerations when it comes to the raw materials, how they are buying it, and then how they are selling the final products really sometimes is worrying. Because if you look at something made of cotton, in most cases, it is quite expensive. But then when you see people buying these things very cheaply, they keep on dropping prices here and there, and then definitely it also really becomes very, very difficult. So I think Francis Owonda Omer, the district councillor, Parombo Town Council, promised a move to move a motion that is in council to prioritize community sensitization and on producing standard commercial cultural products in order to benefit from the growing market of that is cotton products. I wonder equally explains blame from middlemen farmers who are actually the ones causing all this mess. Really, if we are involved in middlemen, really, middlemen are actually people who earn commission. Sometimes they come and want to buy these things cheaply from you so that they can make the profits that they want to ensure that they can get, and that really becomes really very, very much difficult. And he actually questioned this one, really, if government and through the district council, if that motion is actually moved and then it is implemented, then definitely these farmers would actually really benefit from them. And really, according to information we're getting, a kilo of cotton goes for, that is 1,200 shillings, unlike in the 3 years where it was between 2,000 to 3,000, and then you can really copy that drop. And with the changes in the economy, and where we expect actually the prices to be shooting up, and then they are dropping down, then definitely that is going to pull off so many farmers from engaging into the production. And this is why I also want to call upon every farmer that may be engaged in cash crop production to actually also try now food production, because with food production, really, once you have ensured that the production is of high quality, then definitely I must tell you, you will not lack, that is the market, because the market is always ready to buy what you are producing, because people have to eat each and every day. People must eat, and that is why it is always good for people to ensure that they continue production of food, that is food. So cotton is one of the major cash crops in Uganda, especially that is in northern Uganda. We are seeing this being produced in so many people in Mariokolo. We are seeing cotton. We are seeing cotton that is also in Zombo. We are seeing in Nebi. We are seeing in so many parts, and that is actually one of the cash crops that is very, very much coming out from the region. But then once the prices keep on growing, then I must assure you that will be definitely also one factor that could actually pull off so many people. And really, with that, we are going to be running for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we shall be able to continue with other issues that may be or trending on our various platforms. But for now, really, we are taking a short breather. region. So with me, Farish Majid, you are really doing a great job to also ensure that you must be in the know of what is happening. So before we did go for the break, we were still discussing issues ranging from the donation of the ambulance from the Italian Episcopal. We did discuss maybe cotton farmers also complaining about prices, but still within the region also we did have a meeting that is of the Uganda Traditional Healers Association, who are actually undertaking a countrywide sensitization, because really if you look at all this, everybody who is a traditional healer to us, who are still the ordinary people, we know them as the witch doctors, and witch doctors have actually been taken as the traditional healers, and this we are actually undertaking a countrywide sensitization to let the world know of who they actually are, because some of them are not the actually witch doctors, but we have seen most of them actually acting like the witch doctors, and that is where we have been having challenges with them here and there. And we also say we are still following up on that. And the nationwide countrywide sensitization aims at actually bridging the gap. And the Association of Uganda Traditional Healers under the umbrella body Uganda Net Dagalaliyo have on Monday, that is 1st of January 2024, kicked off with the sensitization of traditional healers, herbalists in the communities of West Nile sub-region. And actually, this is something that we actually must say must happen, because if that is not the case, then we continue to see them actually misbehaving. And once a body is not regulated, and for any institution not to be regulated, then definitely you will be able to know the pain that comes with, because they at times also become a challenge to the society, because they start really destroying people's peace here and there. And that is why we are seeing so many issues happening, for instance, murder cases and communities revenging here and there. Sometimes they actually attributed to these traditional healers who are not actually acting professionally, and that is why there's need actually to regulate them, because all of them have been taken as witch doctors. Because really, if you ask me who a traditional healer is, and maybe who a witch doctor is, I cannot differentiate them, because I've never visited any of them, and I've never actually known any of them. So I think if you really ask me who a traditional healer, I may be able to tell you who he is. I may be able to tell you that is the witch doctor. And just like me, I believe there are also so many people out there who cannot differentiate between that is the traditional herbalist or the traditional healers, or maybe from also that is the witch doctors, because these have actually been most likely doing the same things, and that is where we have been seeing most of them actually defending themselves. And for witch doctors who have been arrested, none of them has actually come out to clearly say he is a witch doctor. In most cases, they advertise themselves as traditional herbalists, and that is where we have been facing challenges. And I think the move is quite well, and we also must say this entity needs to be regulated, because really they are causing a lot of family destructions here and there. We are seeing family breakups, we are seeing wrangles happening as the works of this people is contributing negatively, and that is the society, and that is where there is need for this regulation and this sensitization. Actually, we expect them to work with government, and we expect government actually to ensure that these people are actually regulated in terms of those bad people, because really the bad people who have infiltrated that industry need to be plucked out, because if that is not the case, then we shall be able to also see so many bad things happening. The president of the Uganda Traditional Healers Association, Salongo Waliabira Karim, advised genuine traditional healers to stick to their principles and do not mingle themselves with witch doctors. And that is where I was actually saying these people, it is very much difficult to actually differentiate between them and the traditional and the witch doctors. And in most cases, people actually know the traditional healers as witch doctors. And in most cases, actually, these people have actually contributed to that. They have been working as the witch doctors themselves, and that is where they need to actually now ensure that the industry is cleaned up, because so many quacks have been emerging and from that industry, and they have been duping people here and there, claiming to be giving them medicine, and really sometimes this is causing a lot of mess in society. So I think it is very much important to ensure that this does not repeat itself, and actually a solution must be brought to that. And now moving away from that, and moving away from the Aluru sub-region, and now to the Madi sub-region in Ajuman district in particular, Gojewe Secondary School was launched with a lot of excitement, and really this is something we actually want to hear or want to see, because really education remains one of the key mandates, because without education really you can wonder what kind of society we shall be able to have. As access to quality learning institutions at settlement areas continues, residents of Siforo sub-county, that is in the Ajuman district, have been overjoyed after the official launch of Agojowe Secondary School, which was constructed with support from the Japanese government. And definitely that is something we must appreciate also, and we must call upon each and every other community to ensure that once they're here also, as part of the corporate social responsibility, they can actually extend hand on such projects that may have an impact on society, because really education, and you're really constructing a school, you can just know how many people you are going to affect, because really that is going to impact greatly on their lives, because without education then definitely it becomes a challenge. And Reverend Dr. Joseph Shine, the executive director of Agojowe Secondary School, said he was inspired to open the institution after discovering the challenges people are going through, and it aims to fulfill the education gap in the district. And Dr. Joseph further added that access to quality education is still hard by many parents, since most of the schools are very expensive, and we expect the school not to be that very expensive, because once school becomes very, very much expensive, and coupled with the kind of families that we do have. And remember, in West Nile, I must say something that we have in common is that we live with our families. We live in extended families, and your brother's child is yours, your own, and your family, and your sisters and siblings, in most cases, if you are the head, and definitely you have to provide for them. And that is why once education is quite expensive, then it becomes very, very much difficult. Coupled with the hard economy, it becomes really very, very much difficult for people to ensure that they achieve the mandate, maybe in terms of helping their loved ones go to school here and there and actually access the education that they need. Then definitely that is going to put them off, and with that really it is also going to be a great challenge for them. And I think we must also actually commend that is the Japanese government for the good job done, that is ensuring that there's improvement in access towards education, and definitely that will also improve on service delivery when it comes to education, because really the education sector that has been lagging behind when it comes to quality, and really that is something that you can see from our results. Really, we are waiting to see. Very soon the PLE results will be released, and you will be able to also see how and why there's need actually to support that sector. And really, and once the Japanese government is coming up with a good venture of launching a school, then definitely that will be able to also be an improvement, and that is a plus we also give to them, and we must appreciate them for that. And we must also call upon the other communities to embrace and maybe do the same. And maybe even if it's not the same sector, we didn't see the Italian government community giving out a hospital. They can actually take up any other sector, and that will actually have its own impact on the society also. And Honorable Drazalega Luke, the LC3 chairperson for Sifora Sub-County, said as local government they are ready to fulfill support in such activities and pledge maximum support for the development in their area. So I think that is where we must really draw our hands together. We must join hands in ensuring that there's improvement when it comes to the education sector, because once that sector is really not helped, then definitely it will be able to also impact negatively on society, and that is also one thing that is going to pull off the people from going to school, because really you're looking at those areas. If you look at the area of Ajuman district, this is an area that is actually hosting a number of refugees from South Sudan who are living within these areas here, and these people actually need access to education, because once they are here, we must share the resources, and the resources that may come from government may not be that sufficient enough. And really, once people start drawing hands and joining hands here and there, supporting each other, then definitely that is something we want to see. We want to see a transformed society, and the education is actually one tool that could transform society, because once a society is educated, then cases of people acting backwardly may not be there, and that will actually greatly also improve on the harmony and maybe in terms of people living together, because definitely that is something we want to see in the world. So I think that is quite good, and we must appreciate them for doing that. And Vuba Rafael, a resident of Palermo, expressed his heartfelt gratitude to the board officials of the learning institution for nearing such potential opportunities to the community, and promised that they will support such projects by offering land. And that is something, but in most cases once people say that they are going to offer land, and then we're also seeing in the future grandchildren coming up, maybe not only grandchildren, great-grandchildren coming to claim such ownership of lands. We have seen this happening with so many schools which are undergoing, that is, land wrangles, and with the community members, because some of these community members come up and say, it is my great-grandfather who gave you this land. And we have seen the schools actually reiterating by saying these people who are demanding for these lands that have stayed for quite long do not actually know the grand people they are talking about. I don't know why that must be the case, because something, once it is given, really it must be given for the good cause, and really this is something that will be there and will be actually benefiting so many generations. So I think it is quite good to always offer land for such developments, because sometimes the investors are there, they would want to invent and maybe help the societies, but they lack access to land, and which actually becomes very much difficult for them to continue giving out so many good things. And I think it is very much good for people to always ensure that they support one another with offering land. Not only land, you actually can offer hand in any way or the other, and you can actually engage, that is in production and into the real implementation of the projects that may be able to come. You can work, and that is one thing I must tell you. Once these things are coming up, these are the good activities that may be a benefit to you. So I think as society, we need to actually support the education sector that is very much lacking in this region, and with issues of poor results, poor schools. And if you look at our schools, they lack good infrastructure. Most of them are facing challenges of dilapidated structures, inadequate furniture, and that is where we actually must call and join hands here and there. And this is where it is also good maybe for those international communities or any other person, because to really support, it does not really need for you to be an international person, for you to really be an organization, but you as an individual could actually offer a hand. You can move to these schools, more so those schools that are found in the rural schools, and move and see what is happening there, and then definitely you will be able to know why there's need to support them. Because if you actually look at our results, in most cases we run very much to blame the schools, we run very quickly to blame the school authorities for not performing their duties. We leave out other stakeholders, most especially the other aspects of maybe the infrastructure, which is actually lagging behind, and that definitely tells us why we must ensure joining hands together and helping the community. So I think Honorable Anyama Ben, the L5 chairperson of Adjumant District, called upon people of Agojo to fully support the institution by mobilizing learners, and requested for maximum sustainability of such programs, since it's about cooperation. And that is something I was actually talking about before getting, that is the statement of Anyama. If we do not really join hands, then definitely that is going to pull off such good developments down, and that may not be good for the nation, because for the region at large, because really this education sector, once it's not supported, then definitely it is one thing that is going to pull off so many people from really continuing. And sustainability is actually one thing. So in most cases, such good projects come up on paper, but when it comes to implementation, that is where they start lagging, and that is where they fail. So I think we must ensure that the sustainability of the school is in place, and the school has to be there for these years to come, and must actually perform, and must be that model school for many people. So I think it is coming up, and once the community members support and embrace it through taking their learners, and also maybe the teachers within the place also coming to the school, and then definitely that will also really improve the education sector. So while commissioning the premises, the Deputy Resident District Commissioner for Adjumant District, that is Emmanuel Okwari, called upon the public to embrace ICT knowledge so that it can transform their lives, because really we are living in a world that is modern, and we expect to also see these modern equipment such as the computers at the school, and then definitely what he is calling for may be the reality, because if the computers are not there, then where will the learners be? In most cases we are seeing a big population of the school lacking that is the necessary equipment such as the computers, and then you see learners sharing, then with that really it may also pull them down from that is actually getting the knowledge that they actually want to have, because these are skills that are hands-on. Because once you are not sitting there, then definitely it may be very difficult for you to grasp maybe what you are being taught, and then maybe what you want to learn, and then that will also really pull off so many people from learning. And that is where the issue of people being called to embrace ICT may not be a reality. So I think it is high time, if these facilities have the necessary equipment such as the computers, maybe also other necessary scholastic materials, then definitely that will also really improve on service delivery when it comes to this area year. So Okwari appreciated the Japanese government for such initiatives, as most of the youths in Germany lack such knowledge, and called for support that is from the Korean government. And now the construction of the school started after communities of Palermo took initiative to call for development partners by offering land to Korean Samaritan who opened the learning institution, and is expected to cater for both refugees and host communities, because the issues of education really do not affect only the refugees. Even the host communities lack these good schools, and really in most cases also most emphasis have been put more on the refugees than these host communities, forgetting that these actually is the same people who need the services. And really one thing I must tell you, we need to improve on service delivery through actually donating everything. And now to the parents, the school is here. What are you going to do to ensure that your learners actually benefit from the school, and maybe those who actually offer the land? How are your children and then the great-grandchildren, about the community going to benefit from the school? And then definitely we must support the school. We must support our learners through providing them the necessary equipment, maybe the necessary books, scholastic materials here and there, and that would actually take them back to school, because school is not very much far. If you look at the day today is 24th, and that means that we are remaining with very few days, about 6. And school is set to open, that is in February, and that should be an indication to you that school is actually not very far, and you can actually now rush out the school and maybe start preparations here and there, because once the school opens, I believe it must open in high gear. And just like that school, so many schools are going to open up, and that is why as parents we must call upon our learners now to start engaging in serious work. And this is actually the time they could actually also start venturing maybe into serious activities, so that they can be prepared. And as parents, this is the time actually where you need to now ensure that their monies for taking them back to school is ready. And if you do not have it right now, then the few remaining days could actually be enough for you to rush and really ensure they go back. And now to schools also, once these parents come with the learners, let's be lenient enough. Let's understand one another. If a parent tells you really, I do not have the money, then let's listen to them. And really with that, we are going to be taking a short commercial break. And this is still the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV. In case you're just joining us right now, it's a great pleasure as we continue giving you more updates of some of the topics that may be trending on the various platforms. But for now, allow me run in for another short commercial break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023. live only on Star Times. Star Times brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13th, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your Star Times subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. Star Times, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are already 30 minutes after the hour of the 8 a.m. and in case you're just joining us right now, it's a great pleasure having you join us on the Kokoliriko live show every Mondays to Fridays, 7 a.m. to that is 9 a.m. only on West Nile Television. And this is where also we let you know of what is happening within the region up the international scene. And I must tell you, this only happens on West Nile TV. That is where you will be able to also get to know of what is happening right from the region to the international scene. So I think it's very, very much good for you to always really also be part of the show, and really feel free to also share your comments with us on the various social media or maybe other online platforms. And this is to those who are streaming us on live. And for those of you streaming us on Zuku, maybe on channel 0073, we want to thank you so much for always watching West Nile Television. And we tell you, you must continue watching West Nile Television. And remember, at 9 o'clock, we shall be having the news bulletin in Lubarati with Feta Manuel and the rest of the team, who will be also here in place to let you know of what is happening in the world of Eolaza. So I think really we are continuing still with the discussions. And I've been joined by one of my colleagues, Usuta Yusuf. He is one of the journalists on West Nile Television. And without wasting any time, allow me actually usher in, that is Usuta Yusuf. You're most welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Farish. Good morning, our viewers. For those who are watching me for the first time in this show, I'm called Usuta Yusuf, a news reporter for West Nile Television.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great pleasure having you on board. And really, before you came in the first hour, we did discuss, I did a lot of issues that is ranging from the traditional healers story on that is mass sensitization, that is to ensure that quacks, remember quacks have been a challenge really in all the sectors, and once a sector is not regulated, then it is going to be very much infiltrated by quacks. And really once quacks enter any industry, then definitely that is one industry that is going to have a lot of messes and a lot of problems here and there. And that is why people still find it very difficult to even till today to differentiate that is between the traditional healers and witch doctors. Is that not the case really with you, because you really covered the story? And maybe if you can really put out something small about that issue of the traditional healers.
Yeah, that is the case. We have seen, like, after we did that story, there's some reactions from the clergies and even some of the political leaders, like the Central Division Mayor Muzaid Kamis did the right in some platform that those people are actually, they are pretending to be herbalists and yet they are doing things of witchcraft. So we have seen their actions there. So we are yet going to follow more after here to see if really the purpose of this sensitization will be able to sweet the goal.
But let me ask, what is the difference between that is the traditional healers and the witch doctors? And which one is legal? Because I want to understand the legal perspective of this. Are all these operating within the law? And who permits them?
Well, in the current society, that's in the society we are living in, it is a bit challenging to differentiate between those people, because those years we used to have those herbalists who will really treat people and they heal. But these days, we have seen some now, they pretend to be sayers, and others, they tell you, you come if you have a problem, if you have bad luck, you come, I'll be able to solve it, and so on. So it has really beat the understanding of so many people to really understand who they are. Yeah, so that question has no definite answer.
Okay, and this should actually go as a warning to those people who are visiting these traditional healers, thinking they are going to get the service they want. Some of these people are quacks, some of them are actually liars, and that is where you may be also to face challenge with them here and there, and that is why government needs to come up and regulate the operations of these people. And now it is actually that body that could bring them together. And really, sometimes I'm one person who is against this post works. I must tell you, this is open. I must tell you, I do not actually really believe in their activities. Sometimes I'm one person who is negative about them, but we have also seen people who have relayed their stories of how they have actually benefited from this. And if you really want to know, you can really tell about poisoning in most cases, where they rush these people to if you move in the villages, you can be able to hear of stories of where these people are taken traditional healers and they actually got the services, and that is where witchcraft is sometimes also is very, very bad. So I think this people's activity is one that needs to be regulated, and now putting off that, really we are still mourning as a region, as West Nile sub-region, we are still mourning as of Northern Uganda upon that the death of one of our prominent and long-serving legislators, that is Honorable the late that is Cecilia Atimogwal. For the people of Dokolo, I do understand that the burial preparations are underway, and yesterday we did have prayers for her, and we did hear so many things. As a journalist, I must ask you, maybe what is that one thing that you knew this lady that is commonly identified as Iron Lady, where people have also identified, given so many names to her for? What do you remember about her?
Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, actually, she has been one of the few legislators who could speak the truth to power. She speaks without mincing her words, so we are going to miss her as a country. So the footmarks she has left in that parliament, I really don't know if we can be able to get someone to replace her.
Do we still have such legislators in the region who still speak openly and boldly like her?
Well, somehow we do, but that's why we need more analysis.
Okay. So that is briefly maybe what you could say about, and really we are still going to mourn her, because so many things have been said about her, so many people have eulogized her as one person. One thing that you cannot exclude about her is the fact that she stood as an advocate, that is for the rule of law, and the constitution that we still have today, that is the 1995 constitution as amended that we still have today. She is actually one of those persons that formulated it. So she was part of the Constituent Assembly, and that is something that we shall be able to also miss her for, because really, if you look at the constitution, this is something that was good, because without law, really, sometimes it becomes very, very difficult to administer and maybe also guard the society, because laws are there to ensure that there is safety and the society is in peace. And that is where we shall be able to also really miss her, because now we are seeing preparations here and there for people to really ensure that she's sent off decently, that is to God. As part of the activities in honor of the Dokolo Woman Member Parliament, that is Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, mourners yesterday gathered at All Saints, that is church, for prayers ahead of her burial this Saturday, which is not very far from now. And we are seeing preparations in Dokolo, we are seeing preparations in Kole, we are seeing preparations in Lira, and that is an indication that she was actually one person that is appreciated by the whole community, and that is something also all the leaders, I must ask, should employ, because really, as you are serving the people of that particular district, you are working for the whole region, and that is where else you die, and we actually mourn you as a nation.
her demise has become a shock not only to Langos region,
yes,
but
absolutely
the entire country. So you can now feel the somber mood that is been across the country.
Because she was serving the nation. So I think that definitely should be as an indication. And maybe what message can you pass to the rest of the legislators that we still do have? Not only the legislators, we have so many leaders. And this is not only to the politicians. And that is where you see it. Even people who are not leaders once they die, but because of the good legacy, they are among the numbers. And people still, because so many of these people have dependents, and people who look at them as models, who look at them as role models, maybe what message can you have for people, more so leaders in general?
We do what President Museveni paying his tribute in Parliament. So he described the late as someone who really stood her ground when she was serving the country. So I'll really say that let our legislators in Western region and the entire country emulate the footsteps of Honorable Cecilia Boyle, so that we shall have a strong parliament, not this kind of parliament where people come like, they come as amateurs and so on. Yeah.
So that is it, because really sometimes we need to stand out of our grounds. Let's come out boldly as leaders to actually condemn some of these things. These are things that you'll be able to know for. You may be able to really fear for your life, but then that one thing that you are going to say boldly is going to impact on a number of people, because really that law that you are going to really put in place, which may be good, because Parliament is actually there to ensure that we have laws that govern the country as that arm of government. So I think it is quite good for all the legislators to ensure that once they go into the Parliament, that just like my brother said here, must ensure they own the Parliament, because once you are there, you're in charge. You're in charge of the representatives, that you are a representative of the people and the country at large, because the laws that you make on that floor there will be able to be applied on everybody, irrespective of who you are, because it becomes a law for the country. And that is why it is always good for legislators to ensure once they step the floor of Parliament, they do not keep quiet, they do not really also sit down on pressing issues, because really sometimes we see them when they come to the constituencies, the voters actually tell them a lot of issues of which we expect them to act. And now we are living in a society where the society also very much depends on handouts from the politicians, and we are seeing politicians running here, and they may not be able to now identify the challenges of the people that they lead, and that definitely is impacting greatly, because you are one person who has been on ground with the society, and you have actually been very much associated with, that is the local persons. The relationship between politicians really and the voters, how do you look at it, and how do you assess it?
Well, that relationship, someone may say, is somehow just, it's like a ship that is trying to balance. Because on the other side, we have seen some leaders who are running away from the people after being elected, and we have seen those who are deep in the community. So how they are doing their work basically tells us we need a lot of civic education, because most of our people, they can't differentiate between a good leader and a bad leader. So for them, what they just see is, today a leader has come, he has given me some 10,000 here, then that's all. That's the good leader that I must vote. So we should have a lot of civic education. If the EC could be able to take this up, so that we see a lot of sensitization during this period, so that reaching by 2026, that will be really good. Yeah. And
2026 actually is not very far. And now we are seeing politics being conducted directly here and there. If you move in the grassroots, you can be able to know what I'm talking about. Most of the leaders are actually within their constituencies. And this is where you as the voters could actually hold them accountable, because they still have that period of maybe they could be able to really address your challenges. But then we are seeing as people demanding for, instead of demanding for services, they are demanding for handouts, which to me is quite absurd, because really for people to say today that you're a good leader, then I believe it is because of the monies that you give them, and that is where they will be able to really say, Osuta, maybe Farish is a good leader. But once you do not provide for them, then definitely it becomes quite difficult. And now we are seeing that really also greatly impacting on that is the society. So I think that is something, if we adjusted upon, then definitely that would be able to cause an improvement in terms of that is service delivery. And really, Osuta Yusuf, I must also bring you on board. And really, so many things have been happening in the region here and there, ranging from the national scene to the international. We did have the NAM summit close, the two summits, that is the NAM summit and the G77 China Plus summits closing, plus so many others. And maybe these things also did not come well. We did have some opposition leaders staging protests here and there, and we have also seen them saying that they are going to continue with the protests. And His Excellency, that is Robert Chagulanyi of that is National Unity Platform, has actually come out to say he is going to continue with the protests, and this is because he is demanding for service delivery. Do you think this is a good move for them as opposition members? Because we are looking at 2026. Because if you really do certain things, then definitely it will also greatly impact on the people that you are leading.
Yeah, actually, as the opposition leaders, they wanted to target the presence of those dignitaries who came here for the NAM summit and the G77 plus China. So we have seen the police come there to issue statement that they are going to go after those who staged those protests, who were planting banana suckers and so on. So it really leaves us wondering, what interest do they have exactly when they have come to stage such kind of protests during a season where the entire world is watching Uganda? Yeah.
Then really, where does that put really the country in your own opinion? Because we are having so many dignitaries, we expected to paint for them good image, and actually these people were making fun of not smiling, because somebody was asking them to actually smile when they see these visitors, and that is the tradition. Really, you know, our African culture, even way back in our traditions, once you have guests, even if you are having wrangles, you first put the wrangles aside. Once you see a guest, you pretend and clean off the tears and smile, and that is how it is. But now we are seeing visitors coming and people are rioting, and that definitely tells you that they are dissatisfied about certain things. And then I don't know where that puts really the country at.
Well, that only points to some of the loopholes we have in democracy, because this clearly shows that we have some sort of fragmented democracy. So all this need to be addressed amicably, not through this kind of protest that could really paint us as a disunited country. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That is definitely something through the democracy. You talked about democracy, really, if it is something that we are talking about, and this part is satisfied actually, and it is actually their mandate. It is a constitutional mandate for somebody to protest, because really for you to demonstrate, there is the provision of the law, but how you do it is where it matters, because you have to come in place and maybe also call upon police. And these people's houses were actually surrounded, which to me is also against the law. Really, do you think these people continuing with the protest is the way to go? And could this actually bring the solutions to what they are seeking for, and maybe to their cries?
Well, this may definitely not be the solution, because we have seen so many protests since the days when Kizza Besigye came in. So this kind of protest where people stage it, and then the next day they are arrested, they are produced in court, and then later on they are released. This seems to be like a drama that is continuing, but not something which is really they want to do it to achieve their target. Yeah.
So what will your message be to these people?
Well, we should have to seek amicable ways of seeing how we can address some of these issues. Not really necessary that every time we have to go on the roads, we have to beat our gas and so on.
And yesterday also we did see threats, you know, moving out from that story now, we also did see threats of bombing attacks, and one of the churches was actually attempted, and where we did see that is suspected blasting bombs that was placed in one of the churches. And really we are seeing all this, and recently the head of the state, that is His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, did address the nation, that is in relation to the ADF threats, and we are now seeing all this returning. And maybe where does this really put the country at? Because once we start seeing so many threats of bombing attacks here and there, this also sometimes really puts fear into the people that live in the country. Maybe what could the society do? Because we have always said we need vigilance, vigilance, vigilance. This is always the call for people to actually come out and really protect themselves. And now where is the gap? And where do these things come from? And maybe where does this also put the security of the country that we have been enjoying as the country is preparing to also celebrate 38 years, which is not very far. That is for NRM Liberation Day, which is also actually upcoming.
To address the issues of insecurity, there really needs to be that difference between the civilians and the security operatives. They need to be so close, because we have seen in so many situations whereby once an incident happens like this, it has been either the security forces have been far away from the civilians, or the civilians have been far away from the security forces. So when we try to bring them near to each other, so that they'll just anything small like this, they'll be able to communicate, and then those gaps are bridged. Yeah.
So bridging the gap that is between security and that is the public, because really sometimes we have to work together, and it is actually the society, and this is where the point of vigilance comes in. It is you as a society to give out that information to security, and it is upon security to also take it up and start investigating into these matters, and that is where it is very, very much important. And really putting that aside, so many threats may be able to come up, and what we need to do as society is to ensure that we protect ourselves, because you are the first protector to your life. And really, if you do not ensure that your life is safe, and if you live it recklessly, then definitely it will be able to also impact on you and the people around you. So I think it is very, very much important for people to always ensure that they protect themselves and they be vigilant and also security cautious, and by giving out the information that is needed to security, so that security can take it up and start investigating on the issues. And this actually should be an indication right from where you live, where your vicinities are, and you could actually be having people who may not be good. You have something to say? Yes.
One of the ways of closing that gap is through the issue of community policing. So we are urging the police and the security forces to get that community policing, because you remember during the COVID time, the relationship between civilians and the security forces really somehow deteriorated. So that gap needs to be bridged, so that they start seeing each other as one, but not as this one with guns and this one without guns. Yeah.
No, you know, the issue about the far-fetched relationship that is between the security forces and the public has always been something that is very much bad. And if you look at really, if the society more so about that is the soldiers and the ordinary civilians, you really see fear is one thing that is there. And if you look at also with the police, sometimes you also see fear is very much, and it becomes very much difficult for somebody to actually give out information to them. And mixed with the killings, if you really see what happened recently, more so these simple killing, with these killings, what we are looking at as simple, also really very much contribute to that is the far-fetched relationship between that is the security agents and the public. Because sometimes, I must tell you, it is actually the security to get information from the ordinary people, because as security, you may be able to be in the barracks there, and then you do not know what is happening here. Even the agents that you're having, that may not be knowing what is happening, but if at all you had a good working relationship, somebody would actually come to you and let you know silently of something that is happening within the society. So I think that is something we need to call upon, and this is something we have actually seen right way back, and not only within the period of, that is the COVID-19, but the COVID-19 actually came out to clearly manifest of this far-fetched relationship, which has never been bridged. So I think it is high time if the security agencies and other stakeholders can actually come out together and really tell the police they are there to work for the public. And actually these people, most cases, I must tell you, people do not know that police is there to work for them. And while they are looking at police, is that they look at police working against them. And this is not actually with the police around it is with all the security agencies. The relationship is very, very much far-fetched. And how maybe if these people would bridge the gap, you talked about community policing, and that would actually really very much help. And really sometimes also, if that does not happen, then definitely we are going to be talking about so many issues happening here and there,
Issues
and that will
actually increase.
Remember, we're talking about insecurity really sometimes. If you look at our communities way back, let's first look at the issue of security, even way back to the communities where we come from. Look at this, most of the areas in the city today, they have become, that is very, very much inaccessible, more so during certain hours of the night and then certain hours of the day, because you cannot move to them. They have become security threats to the people, where people's handbags are being snatched. More so the women really go through a lot sometimes in terms of insecurity, and then we are seeing people's property just being stolen like that, and this is actually another security threat. Maybe if as society we work together, this would actually really address the challenge. But in most cases also, some people really say a lot about certain things, because really if you look at all this, Yusuf, I must tell you, it is very, very much difficult. Let me ask you about one area that if you can really go to, can you move to San Siro at 8 p.m. and you come back safely?
Well,
can you move there and come out safely really? Within certain period of hours, maybe from 8 p.m. or 7 p.m.
Yeah, I can move there. This issue of insecurity, it has really been there. But recent, when the new DPC SP Bambale was brought in, then the new RCC, then the RCC himself. These people are very, they have held meetings after meetings to make sure that these small pockets of thieves are rounded up. So we spoke with him, like the DPC, some weeks ago. He said they rounded up so many of them and they are now in yellow there. So the issue of the insecurity has somehow reduced. And we've been also gathering the feedback from the society about how they are now feeling compared to the previous years. So they are so far appreciating the security operatives over the oppression. Yeah,
and definitely that is something that we expect them to be doing. So as that is the head of security, maybe the security leaders, we expect them to bring sanity. And actually one of the leaders was having a community policy in one of the areas that I did mention to you earlier on, and this is the new RCC Charles Ichogor. Together with other security leaders, they did have, that is, community sensitization within the areas of the city. Really some of these security threats are being manifested in these areas which are really becoming inaccessible, where you may not move freely because you are moving and you have to look here and there. You move with fear. Really, it becomes very much difficult. So I think there's need to really clean up the city, and what they are doing, we very much appreciate it, and we expect them to be doing more, and we expect them to collaboratively work together. And with that, we are in the next few years, maybe we may be able to also see sanity be brought in the city. I don't think if really arresting these people is the solution, and maybe what if really could that be the solution? Because me, I don't see it as a solution. We needed maybe to understand the root cause of why these boys and these girls are becoming a challenge to the security leader.
Well, that could be some of the solution, but not the final one, because all these people who have gone on the streets, some are doing prostitution, some are doing these robberies and so on. They have their own story to tell, why they are there. So this is where the issue of PDM and so on have come in, to make sure that these people are given some opportunity to do work and they are kept busy. So we really ask the government to improve on this initiative that they are bringing to these people. Yeah.
You know, this is actually the young people, and in most cases the young people have been saying into these government projects, they have not been involved very much. In most cases they have been excluded, and that is why they're not involving themselves into these projects. And these people really, they have, most of the youth, if you're really to interact with the youth, most of them have negative perception about these government projects such as PDM, and in most cases they actually do not know about these projects here. And maybe just in 1 minute before we head in for another break, do you really see if these people were involved in these government projects, then that would actually also drop back? Because, and how often? Because we have seen sometimes government coming up with so many initiatives of skilling the youth, but then they do not change. The society really keeps moving out of hand. And recently we did have mindset change training for the young people. And really, what could be done to really see to it that young people move away from certain behaviors?
Well, actually, the issue of mindset change needs to be intensified. And two, some of these issues that we are seeing happening, they are our own personal weaknesses. Because someone is trying to make sure that you become a useful person to yourself and to the country, but you are going on your own way. When they are saying we go this way, you think that way they are telling you is not the good one. So you side on a wrong side. So we can somehow blame the government for not doing enough, but really we have also caused it to ourselves.
Okay, as the young people, yes.
Yeah.
So I think the sensitization bit is one that is still lacking, and we have not only seen this with PDM, we have seen it with so many other government projects, because once you give somebody money that he does not have knowledge about, then definitely it becomes a challenge. The person may end up misusing the money, and that is what is happening with some people who are actually misusing the PDM money now. But really, we will continue with that discussion. That is after the short commercial break, and this is still the Kokoliriko live show. And in case you're just joining us right now, this is West Nile Television channel 0073 on Zuku, and also those of you who are streaming us online, we want to thank you so much. But for now, really, allow us to run in for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we shall be able to pick up with the conversation from there. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on Star Times. Star Times brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your Star Times subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. Star Times, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
From that short commercial break, we are still continuing with the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV channel 0073 on Zuku and other platforms where you are streaming us online. And we must say we appreciate you and really for also sharing your comments, and we do appreciate them. And you can also let them come through, and we are still discussing a lot of issues here and there. And before we did go for the break, we discussed a number of issues, and we are still continuing with more of the updates. And now in one of the updates that we cannot exclude, street vendors have sued, that is Kampala's capital city authority officials, over torture. That is one of the stories that really we must say is happening, and that is trending. So one reason that these two women are laying against these officers is torture and beating them and stripping them. So I think touching their breasts, so, which is something that I must say must be condemned in the strongest terms. And really we have seen over time wrangles between law enforcement officers attached to these bodies. And recently we did see URA, and we are saying if URA could have its own body, just like KCA, and now we are seeing people also really saying bad things about enforcement officers that is attached to KCA, and then that is something also I must say should be condemned in the strongest terms without that, and that is something also that may really not be good. And is that way to go? I'm still with Osuta Yusuf, and we are continuing on the Kokoliriko live show up to the hour of 9. And really, is it good for this people to actually shoot that body, and what does that really show, and what image does this point about the relationship between that is the enforcement officer, that is KCA, and the society that it is actually supposed to serve and then serve maybe?
Yeah, actually this issue of law enforcement officers mishandling street vendors is not only in KCA. It's also happening here in Arua, yes. And we have seen several women being dragged from the road with their properties and so on. So this is actually a problem that cuts across the country, and we should have some ways of making sure that this kind of mistreatment ends there and then. Yeah.
Then definitely, where is this coming from? Could it be the issue of training? Could it be the issue of money? Where exactly is the challenge coming from?
Well, probably the issue of training is also there, because you know most of these law enforcement officers, they are not well trained. Some are they are picked not from security apparatus, but they are picked from where maybe they have been surviving. Yeah.
So I think in a lawsuit filed on Tuesday, that is Ms. Hamida Nakayaga claims that on September 22nd, 2022, during a routine operation, but that is by the enforcement officers of KCA, they were actually tortured and beaten by these law enforcers, and I think that is something that is very, very much bad, because really you need to act within the law, and the law does not permit you to torture. Really, that is something also why there is need for training, and we have seen so many trainings for these officers, but now we still continue to see certain acts continuing. Then definitely that becomes absurd. At least we have seen that is refresher courses being given to these law enforcement officers. Even last year we didn't see them undertake one, but then we are still seeing this not yielding results. Then that becomes a challenge. Just like what my brother said, this is not only a challenge within KCA. We have seen the same happening here in Arua. I remember a scenario where way back when a woman actually abandoned her baby to these enforcement officers because she said she's in the streets to work for, that is for her family, but then these officers, the way they actually came for her and took her property wasn't good for her. So I think she abandoned the kid and ran away, and people had to spend days with the child, really, which was really quite shocking. Yeah. Then definitely that is something also really, that may not be good.
Yeah, there was actually also another incident that I witnessed myself where a lady fainted after her properties were confiscated. So we tried to see how that issue can be solved there, but the tears of that lady could not stop. So it made those law enforcement officers to give back her property. Yeah.
Because really these women, sometimes you must sympathize with them and have maybe ways of helping them, and that is one way we could actually avoid street vending. If you look at the market, let's engage them there and let's ensure that once they move out of the streets, because they are there to really look for their families. Most of these women really sometimes are very much vulnerable. Some of them do not have the husbands. Some of them have husbands that cannot provide. Really, sometimes sometimes it becomes very much difficult, and that is one thing that actually pushes them into the streets. And that is something that if maybe we understood, and then we could actually devise new means of helping them out, because helping them out maybe through taking them to gazetted markets, because we did CKC actually coming up with strategies of moving these people off the streets, and one of them was actually degazetting a new area for them to actually operate and do their street vending from. And we have seen that may be happening, and this actually is one way that could actually really also greatly improve on their livelihoods, because really these women, if you listen to their stories, they have painful stories. But how does government help them? That is the challenge maybe that could actually help them. Maybe in your own opinion, how do you think government would help these vendors on the streets and then move them off streets and have other alternative means maybe for them to actually earn livelihood?
We have seen the market vendors, their efforts by government to make sure that these people are in the market. But because some of them could not afford some of those stalls and so on, that's why they are moving on the street to make sure that they have to sell and earn something at the end of the day that can put food on their table at home. So the solution to this could only be if government could maybe construct more markets to make sure that these people are catered for in those other markets where they could not afford paying for the stalls and so on, so that there can be some pitches where they can sit there and then the customers follow them. Yeah.
Yes, I want to thank you who is still watching us, and we are still discussing on ways and strategies maybe how government could actually help the street vendors. And for those of you, if you feel that there's something you can actually share, you can actually use those platforms that you are watching us from. And I want to thank, that is Ernest Bernardino, who has shared this comment and he has said he's watching us, and we definitely also want to thank you so much for being part of the show. And what we discuss here should have an impact on society, and that is why the Kokoliriko morning updates comes your ways every Mondays till Fridays from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and this is where we discuss a lot of pertinent issues here and there. We are still discussing on the issue of market, and really street vending has been a challenge that for the whole country. And really, how do you stop the street vending and maybe provide this with alternatives is maybe the way that could actually limit them, because if that is not the case, some of these women are actually complaining about low markets in the markets, because if you have to move the market here, the empty stores are actually inaccessible. And then that is actually coming back way to the society that we have. Most of our people do not actually want to move the whole market. They think accessing the market is only on the low floor. And this is not only within the market. Most of these buildings are facing that challenge. And maybe how could society actually help in avoiding this challenge of that is street vending?
The whole issue goes back to organization of these markets. Because if the markets are organized properly, then people will be able to follow those vendors where they are selling their items and which rooms or stores. So we should stick to the issue of making sure that the market is organized, and then those who are going to buy in the markets they follow those vendors into those stores. Yeah. So
right, that is where we are putting the discussion in relation to that is intention to sue KC, and where street vendors have threatened and they really continue to really sue KC, and they've already filed their case in court, and we are waiting to see where that will actually land them to, because these women, these vulnerable women who are street vendors are accusing that is the law enforcement officers of torture and bad touches here and there, because they claim that their breasts were pressed. That is actually a bad act that we should condemn, really, because once you are mishandling somebody, then definitely that is an adult. Which kind of image is this person going to carry on? Because what kind of feeling are you giving this person here? Other than that, I really want to call upon each and everybody to ensure that we work together, because KCCA is there to work for the people, and just like KCCA, all these other entities of government are actually there to actually ensure that they work collaboratively for the people, because they are working towards the betterment of the people. So I think that is why there is need to bridge the gap between these entities and the people that they serve, and with that, definitely that will actually really have an impact on the society. And other than that, we did discuss a lot of issues here and there, ranging from the donation of, that is an ambulance, and then we also talked about cotton prices that have highly dropped, that is in Nebi. We also talked about Gojoway Secondary School that has been launched and which is actually going to improve on that is the education sector. We did talk about so many other things, ranging here and there, and really with that, maybe I want to bring back, that is Osuta Yusuf, to actually have his final say, as we are running out of time, as we also have to pave way for the Eola's News team to come through and give you what is happening in the world of Eola's Liberty News Bulletin.
Well, our viewers, we are glad to be here, and we appreciate your time in watching West Nile TV. So we will urge you to continue watching West Nile TV to make sure that the stories that we give, the news and everything we give from this region, they go to you and also the entire world. So we also there on Facebook and on YouTube also. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Osuta Yusuf, for that compliment there. And dear viewer who watched us right from the time we began till this time we are closing with the discussions, we want to thank you so much for watching West Nile Television. And remember, West Nile TV's #1 mandate is to enlighten the region, and that is why we discuss pertinent issues that affect the region first, and we do not actually also limit the discussions here. We stretch international, nationally, and that is why you must always watch West Nile TV Kokoliriko show every mornings from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and that definitely will also have an impact on you, and as what we discuss here must have a relation to what you know. And that is where we stop with the discussions for today, and really want to thank whoever watched us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning. And we also want to thank my producer, that is Boniface, for the good job done, not forgetting Senior Dizon, who is behind the camera, for always ensuring that we look that good. And with that, dear viewer, we come to a close of today's discussions. Thank you so much.